Who are social workers? What definitions do we use for this term? How do we regulate these people? Does this come in the form of licensing, an exam, a certification process? What do we do about the people who have been doing social work tasks for many years without the benefit of education or training? These are just a few of the questions that our webinar will raise and hopefully address today. Today's session will feature two examples of social work regulation from the countries of Indonesia and Zimbabwe. Our first presenter is Mr. Tata Sudrajat, President of the Indonesian Association of Professional Social Workers. Mr. Sudrajat is also a family-based care senior program manager with Save the Children in Indonesia. He is a member of the board advisor of Child Protection Center at the University of Indonesia that is supported by USAID. He has been working on child protection issues for more than 20 years, and since 2005 has been working with Save the Children, managing the family-based care program, which has involved him in advocating to reform social work. Our second presenter is Mr. Phillip Bohwasi. Mr. Bohwasi is a senior social worker and social entrepreneur. He is the current chairman of the Council of Social Workers in Zimbabwe and is credited with taking part in negotiating and drafting the social work law for the recognition and enactment of the Social Workers Act, which you will hear more about today. Phillip is also the current and founding executive director of Zimbabwe Opportunities Industrialization Centers, a civil society training agency affiliated to OICI, which is based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Phillip is presenting today from the USAID office in Zimbabwe, and we would like to thank USAID Zimbabwe for their assistance in hosting Phillip's presentation. You'll see that each presentation will be followed by an opportunity to engage in a short question and answer period with our speakers, which is moderated by Jim McCaffrey from Capacity Plus. And these are the reminders that you need to see in terms of writing questions or comments as you think about questions for the speakers. So at this point, please join me in welcoming Mr. Tata Sudrajat. Tata, you can take the presentation now. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Hi, everyone. Good day. So this is thank you again and appreciation to Indonesian to present in this webinar about our experience how to develop the social work in Indonesia. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the background. That social work was introduced in Indonesia in 1964 when the Ministry of Social Affairs established School of Social Work. And after that, so many lecturers went to the US to get the master degree of social works. And Indonesia now has the 35 schools, and the Association of Social Work Education was established in 1986. And then the other side, the Association of the Professional Social Workers established in 1998, and now having 600 registered social workers. And other background is every year at least 700 social workers graduate from all the School of Social Work. And I think other background is also encouraged by the Save Children that in 2009 highlight the paradigm shifts from institutional based care toward the family based care, and one strategy is how to redirect policy and resource, including how to reform the social work services to the family. Next slide, please. And these are the challenges how to develop the social work in Indonesia. And in Indonesia, that social work seems as a business for everyone. So everyone who engages in the community activity claim as social work or social workers. And as I said, we are lack of the social work system that can work with other community bearers like police, court, health system, education system, etc. And in terms of the education, there are no core competence and no core curricula. So you can imagine, even though that social work was introduced more than 50 years, but no single core competence and core curricula that's applied by all the social work. And again, the challenge that the majority of the graduate social work are civil servants, and the majority of them are not practicing social work. So this is hard also for us to see what kind of the social work practice in Indonesia. Another challenge is Indonesia right now with 34 provinces needs around 150,000 social workers, and right now until 10% have already met. So this is still part to go to have the enough social worker for Indonesia context. And this is social work education background and challenge. I have already mentioned about the establishment and also number of scope social work and also the association. And then we can continue to other slide, please. And this is the ways to improve social work education. So we reformed the IPPSI. This is the social work education towards social work professional in 2010. This is to make sure that the education will reach out the professional social worker. And other step is the Association of Social Work Education's agreed definition of social work and set up the appropriate social workers as social problem analyst, problem solver, empower, and change agent in 2010. And also they continue to agree national curriculum for the undergraduate level with 20 subjects of social work and teaching models. And others improvement is about the agreed of 2 model practicums for micro and macro. Micro is referred to the individual practicum, and macro for the community development practicum. And other side, the SAP children also invest the social work curriculum that providing the training on permanency planning and good parenting, and providing opportunity for the social work lecturers to conduct practicum with children and family. So, and then the next agenda, how to improve the social work education, is to implement national social work education standard, including core competence, curriculum, practicum, etc., in all of the school of social work. This is, I think, very big challenges. And part of them is also providing training for lecture, and also providing, including translating reference book, especially for students in Indonesia. Next slide, please. And this is about the background and challenge for social work profession. That the Indonesian Association of Professional Social Works, we call IPSPI, established in 1998. And yeah, as I mentioned, there are 600 registered social workers, and then the challenging is, like as I mentioned about the everybody business, and also the need of the more than social workers. Continue, please. And this is the progress of social work profession. Yeah, the first also together with the social work education association. In the association profession, there is also reformation in 2010, and reformation bring how to develop the membership system. It means that the social worker need to register as a social worker in the association. And this registration is also the basis for the certification. And also the association improved the code of conduct, to be a basis to control the behavior and attitude of the social workers, and also develop the standard competencies like for the children or child welfare, and then disaster management, and the community development, and etc. And this standard is come from the practice or practice experience of the social workers. And for the next agenda, we need to develop trainings for social workers, especially in facing certification, to scale up number of certified and licensed social workers. And also the very important thing is to improve supervisory system for social work practices. Next slide, please. And this is about the key point of the presentation is about the process of certification system. So the regulation or the system was ruled under the Ministry of Social Affairs decree on certification system in 2011, and then in same year has been already established social work certification body that's called as the LSPS. And then the first certification examination, which is first history for Indonesia, conducted in December last year, and 50 of 70 social workers passed the test. Next, please. And this is the story about the certification. So the certification body, the members from the Social Worker Association, Social Work Education Association, Ministry of Social Affairs, and National Council of Social Welfare. This is based of the framework that certification should come from the association and the users. So this is very important to check and balance about the using the social worker workforce. And the main task of this certification body is conduct national examination, and also to propose license for social workers who have already certified to Ministry of Social Affairs. So the first license will come from the Ministry of the Social Affairs. And about the certification system, the definition of the certification is competency recognition through national examination by LSPS. Yeah, and this certificate is valid for 5 years. So after that need new renewal again. And then this certification is for professional social workers and also social welfare workers. I can explain in the next slide about that. And scope of the test is about the value, including the ethic, knowledge, skill, and practices experience. And then the license system in other states, license is mandatory and legal recognition from states. Yeah, in this case, it's from Ministry of Social Affairs for social workers that doing direct practice. So license system is the way how to protect social worker and also to protect the client, individual, group, or the community. And the license system was will be providing for the certified social workers and will be valid for 5 years. Next slide, please. And this is about the brief of the level of certification and main requirements. So the first, that the certification is providing for the professional workers and the social welfare workers. And for the professional social worker, there are 2 levels, generalist and specialist. And for generalist, education is for the bachelor degree in social work and social welfare, but specialist for master and specialty in social work and social welfare. So, but now the certification body is focused to the generalists. And length of practice experience is 3 years supervised practice, and for specialists is 1 year specialist practice. For the generalists, it does not necessary to have the relevant training hours, but for specialists it needs 200 hours. And for social worker who would like to follow the certification, it needs recommendation from IPSPI and also from specialist need from the social work association and should hold the generalist certificate. And then the other side for social welfare workers, we divide the two groups. The first is social work assistant and the second is social welfare workers. Social work assistant in terms of education need graduate from senior high school to diploma 3 of social work. Diploma 3 means 3 years. Because Indonesia is unique, has the School of Social Work in the senior high school. So we recognize that as the social work assistant. They need the 2 years in practice experience in social work, and then for the recommendation just from the workplace organization. And number one, social welfare workers need bachelor degree in non-social work and social welfare. Because actually in Indonesia, if we think about the social welfare services and arenas, so majority is come from the very different education background. Yeah? So it needs to certify them in terms of the how the social welfare services, and needs length of practice for 3 years, relevant training hours, 60 hours, and workplace organization. Actually, Ministry of Social Affairs every year providing training about the social work, social welfare for the social welfare workers. Next slide, please. And besides, we focus to develop the social work education, social work profession, and also certification system. We develop also the sporting strategies to strengthen all changes and also the process. So the sporter is from the Save the Children, also BPSW from New York, and will be coming UNICEF with Griffith University, Australia. So one sporting strategy is advocacy on social work development. So one the hot issue right now in Indonesia is how to develop the social work law, because we would like also to increase our status rather than in the level of the Ministry of Social Affairs degree, because I think the special level for the profession should be under law. And other advocacy is now how to push or encourage government to have the professional social workers and seconded in the provincial or district level. And other strategy is establishment of Indonesian social work consortium. This is to respond the progress in the ASEAN level about the improvement of the social work, and there is the ASEAN social work consortium. And this consortium will address the advocacy in national, regional, and international level, and also how to bring the massive campaign about the social work, including through the international or regional conference. Other strategy is, this is also very important, is how about accreditation of social welfare organization. This organization is arena for social worker working and serving the client. So we need also to improve the social welfare organization through the accreditation, and one of the requirements for accreditation is organization should have one professional and certified social worker. And other strategy is modeling social work and child protection practices, signed 2010 by the Save the Children. And this is the strategy to showcase how the social workers professionally working with children and family outside the institution setting. Next slide, please. And yeah, this is for more information. this is my email address and also additional resources about the IPSPI and Indonesia Association of Professional Social Workers, but right now still in the Indonesian language. I think that's all, and thank you for your attention.
This is Jim McCaffrey here, and thank you very much, Tata, for that very comprehensive look at a lot of things that have gone on, a lot of improvements and reforms that have gone on over the past, especially over the past 3 years. In fact, 2 things now. If you have questions or comments on the presentation, now is a good time to write them in the chat room, and we will invite Tata to answer that. And or if you have a good microphone and you can use it, you could raise your hand and we'll give the mic to you and you can ask it directly. I would get us going, Tata, with a question that I had, and I'm going to slide back to slide 27. It seems that that there was a lot of progress that began to start in 2010 and 2011, and this slide struck me in particular, that there was the reform, the Social Work Association, and then there were a number of things going forward all the way up to the improvement of supervisory system as you look to the future. But what was it that happened about that time in 2009 or 2010 that caused this increased level of activity and interest in kind of reestablishing, refining, and reforming the social work profession? I'll give the microphone to you back, Tata.
Okay, thanks, Jim. I think the first that there is, there is the consciousness or something like the people would like to see that how to improve the social worker as the profession. So far, like the association was established almost 10 years ago, and they did not talk about how to make the social worker as the profession. So when Save Children highlight the paradigm shift to family-based care, then we thought that we need the social worker who will be working with children and family directly. But the problem is it is only the client, we are the professional, but we have no certification system, we have no license system, and etc. So that's why we are working together, the practitioners, the education people, and also the Ministry of Social Affairs, to work together how to establish the certification system. And the second, governments adopted the social welfare law in 2009 and stipulated about the professional social workers, and also mentioned in one article there about how to certify the certification. So actually, this is like the peak of the all efforts before that, how to bring the efforts and also energy to establish the certification system. And maybe the other reason that before that, people do not see the social work as the profession, but this is like the voluntary action and etc. Actually, I think right now people still see the social work as the voluntary, but I think we began to bring people to see that there is also the professional one in the social work. I think that is the answer.
So a couple of issues around, I mean, a couple of stimulus perhaps. One was a new kind of law, and the other was the sort of realization that maybe we hadn't, that the social work wasn't taken as seriously as a profession. And so there was an impetus to change that through all of this. Okay, a question from someone, from La Rocha. Why do graduates in social work choose civil service as a place to work as opposed to providing direct services or direct work?
Yeah, I think the Government School of Social Work is the big school, and in the past resulted hundreds of the social workers. And because this is under the government, then they majority work as the civil service rather than as a social worker. Other sides, in the many of universities, actually social work is not teach in majority because they call it a social welfare, and they believe that social welfare is not related much with the social work. I think for us something is like funny to make separate between the social welfare and social work. But now I think there are the process right now how to make the integration of social welfare and social work. So yeah, because of that, there are no obligation or there are no something like inspiration for the graduate from the social welfare school and the university to be a social worker.
Okay, thank you for that. One administrative question. I've noticed a couple questions popping up about getting a copy of the slides. We will provide you with a way to get copies of this whole slideshow or the individual ones later in the broadcast. So we will do that before we close, so you can figure out. So you will have access to this very easily. We had a question from Colin in Zimbabwe, and he noted some numbers here, Tata, and he said that you have 35 schools of social work, and you said there is only a 10% coverage of social workers. You also said there's a need gap for social workers of about 150,000. So is it correct that you have, let's say, 10% of that need gap filled with 15,000 social workers? Excuse me, that would be 15,000 social workers, and you only have 600 at the moment that are registered. What does it mean for the output from 35 schools of social work? How many do you produce per year, and what are you doing to get all these people registered and practicing under the law?
Yeah, thank you, Jim, and also thank you, Colin. Yes, yes, I think 10% is, majority 10% is from the school, government school of social work that has seen the established 50 years ago has graduated around 11,000. And if we add with the graduate from the other school of social work, it's more or less of the 10% right now, or it's about the 15,000 of social workers. Yeah, and yeah, right now about the 600 registered social worker, because this is still struggling for the association to invite social worker to register in the association, because most of the question is what is the benefit for me if I register for social workers. So then we are in the board of the association decided that we need to catch up the certification system. So I think this strategy will attract the social worker to register as in the association. And yeah, we have seen the proof about that, because right now in this year, for example, that the certification body will conduct the certification in 3 provinces, and now so many social worker register, because the registration is part of the, part of the requirement for the certification. So I think this is still part to go to register the social workers, because before that the association did apply about the registration. So member of the association at that time in the past is everyone who graduated from the School of Social Work. Yeah, not registration is not necessary at that time. So in the reformation we developed the system registration for that. Yeah, I think as I mentioned that from the 35 School of Social Works, especially for the School of Social Workers, beside the Government School of Social Work, that other school they graduated and they chose the other jobs of outside the social work services. It could be like the journalists and or business and etc. Yeah.
Thank you, Tata. Maybe we'll take one more question, and then we'll travel on to Zimbabwe. And that is that, as you look at these slides and all of the kind of progress you've made over the past 3 years, especially in looking at certification issues, licensing issues, trying to define, as in this slide, different kinds of workers and what their education, length of practice, and so on. And you have supporting strategies. So I guess the question is, how, how do you intend to, or how, not you personally, but how do you think the momentum will continue to be to support further progress in this area? What do you think will cause that to happen? Tata, are you still on?
Okay, Jim.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We still rely on to the government about the support to develop, social work in terms of education and also the profession. But actually, for education and association and the profession is very low, because we would like to see that government more people support for the how to develop a system, for the certification body, and also how to recruit the social worker from other district or other province and seconded for that. So, and the other, I think, like the organization like the BPSW and Save Children and UNICEF, I think it's still on board to support this development of social work. Okay, did I answer the question? Yeah, please.
Yes, I think it did. It's a kind of a long-range question anyway. I did want to maybe, I see some other questions come in, and I don't know that we'll get to all of them right now, but I did see one that came from Nigeria, which is a very perhaps interesting, maybe contrast to Indonesia, maybe not. But let me read it to you, Tata, and get your opinion about it. It says, in Nigeria, we have social workers who are mainly civil servants. However, the social services are provided by NGOs, CBOs through their volunteers, though these volunteers are not trained social workers, but they have been trained by these organizations to be able to provide services and supports to vulnerable groups. So how would you suggest we harness these populations of parasocial workers or paras to be regulated. So it's a situation that happens in several countries. So it'd be very interesting to get your take on this.
Okay, Jim. Yeah, we recognize also the community social workers and also the voluntary workers in this arena. So that's why in the Indonesian Consortium Social Work, there are 10 organization pillars who related to the social works. And this strategy is how to bring in them all the people who work in the social welfare or social work together, and also to encourage each other to be stronger and to empower for each other. But indeed, right now, the strategy is to strengthen the professional one, because this organization has social work has been a long time in Indonesia, and we would like also to move past how to strengthen this organization. But we believe that the social work or social workers could not be exclusive to the others. And in the social welfare law also recognize about the social welfare worker and also voluntary, and including the community worker. So right now we focus to the professional one and also social worker. I think in the long run we also would like to address how to strengthening the community social worker. But actually the Minister of Social Affairs, as I mentioned before, also providing the training about the social welfare, social work for the voluntary, but for the community social worker. Yeah.
So you recognize the importance of community workers or parasocial workers, but you've chosen at the moment to focus on strengthening the professional side of things at the moment. Okay, we'll get a chance. We'll move on now to the Zimbabwe presentation, and then we'll have a chance to ask some questions of Phillip during and after that presentation, and then we'll have another chance to open it up about either or both presentations, so we can come back to some of the questions we didn't get to at that point, or we may have new ones. So with that, I would like to go ahead and introduce Phillip Bohwasi, who's the chairman of the Council of Social Workers, and he will take us through the presentation here, and we'll be able to learn a lot about what's happening in Zimbabwe and talk about that, and then compare and contrast that to what's happening in Indonesia, and see what we can learn from looking at both. So Phillip, I'll hand this over to you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. Tata, thank you very much for much reformed presentation in terms of format and content. I will move on without spending much time in the presentation. This is the plan of my presentation. We're looking at really about 4 or 5 areas: social work structures and regulation in Zimbabwe. I will speak to it. I think there's about 2 or 3 slides on each of those, and then the value for regulation. Why should social work be regulated? I think we will also address to that. Then I'll move on to the history of the social work organization, how social workers have been organizing themselves towards regulation and practice. So that's the structure of this discussion. So here we start already with the social work structures and regulation in Zimbabwe, and we notice that social work education was introduced in Zimbabwe by a Roman Catholic Joseph priest, Father Ted Rogers, in 1964, just like Indonesia. The School of Social Work in Zimbabwe started as an affiliate to the University of Zimbabwe, and it was the sole and single school of social work up to most recently 2010. New schools of social work have emerged, and there are 4 in the country today since 2010. This has increased the graduate in social work to about 350 per year. It is therefore estimated that Zimbabwe has a total of just about 3,000 social workers since 2004, 1964. This is calculated from the rate at which the School of Social Work has been the sole producer of social workers, starting, I think, 1964 with about 12 to 15 social workers per year. By the time I trained myself, I think there were about 35 to 45, and this is about 1985 and around. And right now, I think they have increased to about 100 social workers from this university. And the 3 other universities are kind of enrolling in mass, and I think none of them has since graduated social workers yet. We expect them to be graduating social workers probably in 2004. That's much about the background. How about the Council of Social Workers itself? Regulated by the Social Workers Act 27 and 21, 9 of 2001. So significantly, we are 12 years old as we speak. Its mandate is to register and license all practicing social workers, conduct examinations to qualify persons for registration, and define and enforce ethical practice and discipline among registered social workers. Really, the Act enhances the status and effectiveness of the profession of social work and to promote the interest of social workers. If you look at the mandate of the Council of Social Workers Act, it's really providing services to social workers, but also trying to create credible services for the clients of social work. The composition of Council, 9 board members, and they are divided into 4 subcommittees. We have divided ourselves in the 4 subcommittees, which are listed below. Finance and Program Development Committee. This is really more of an administrative committee, a management committee that manages the issues of the council. But there are 3 critical mandatory kind of committees, which is membership and registration. The law says that we should register social workers, and that committee is responsible for registration. It is also monitoring of practice and regulation and development of ethics for social workers. That is a committee on its own. Education and curriculum development, again, it's a committee on its own, which deals and works with the schools of social work in order to determine how are the members of this board brought about. They are 5 of them are elected by different provinces of social work in Zimbabwe, which has 10 provinces. Then the other 4, 2, one is the director of social services in government, so we have no choice about that one. So it's always the person who is the director. The other one, before the establishment of the other schools of social work, was the principal of the School of Social Work. We have a dilemma now because we have 3 more schools of social work. I think we will deal with that. Then 2, one is a senior legal practitioner of repute, so we have one on our board, and 1 senior social worker appointed by the minister. So there are 4 people kind of appointed by the minister to deal with to sit on the board of social workers. But we have the opportunity to co-opt members in the various subcommittees that we have set, and that process is ongoing. We look at why should social work be registered, be regulated. I think social work in Zimbabwe had to be registered and regulated because the provision of social services has been significantly reduced by the unstable and political economic environment. This is not the only reason why it should be regulated. Naturally, it should be regulated because social work is a profession on its own, and social workers need to be regulated as practitioners of that same. Of course, there have been massive increases in child sexual abuse cases, massive brain drain, with most social workers going to the United Kingdom, South Africa, Australia, and the rest of the world. Zimbabwe supplies, as a result, supplies more than 300 social workers registered and practicing in the United Kingdom. We had to regulate social work practice in order to improve the quality and service, but in the process we were meeting these kind of other challenges of brain drain. We won't stop brain drain by registering social workers, but it's just worth mentioning that it is one of the critical issues that we face. We continue with regulation. The state of economic and political downturn is very much well known, and the numbers of people that are on the margins and who need protection is increasing. Zimbabwe is less than 10 public service social workers, according to the DSS audit of 2010. And these are the government social workers who were to deal with 6 million people. So there is a serious inadequacy in terms of government public service social workers. This figure translates to a child social worker ratio of 1 to 60 if we're using the 60 million children that we have, and just about the 100 social workers that we have, and that number is huge. Comparatively with South Africa, 47 million people, 15 million children, 12,000 social workers, and the ratio is 1 social worker to 1.2 200 children. So we really need to regulate and organize social work in Zimbabwe in order to deal with those massive social ills that are prevailing. What has been the history of the organization? How did we get to where we are today? 1980-1987, attempts were made at establishing and reviving the National Association of Social Workers. You see that it took 7 years. There was nothing happening in between, but there were individuals giving lunchtime talk shows, mainly with professors lecturers from the School of Social Work. By 1990, the faithful National Association of Social Workers Committee was established, comprising of elected president, secretary, and organizing secretary. There was the beginning and the emergence of organization and getting organized. The committee immediately resolved to work on the regulation of social work. The major problem was that social workers felt, and they could see that they were not being recognized within their workplaces, mainly the Department of Social Services. By 1993, a 15-member committee on the advice of NASWA, Association of Social Workers, managed to bring to Zimbabwe IPSPI members to look and discuss and assist within the sector of regulation. I think at that time Zimbabwe was the prime area for the United Nations and many other international organizations, and therefore you see even 15 members from IPSPI were on the team that came to Zimbabwe, which resulted in overwhelming support. Canada supporting straight away with regulation and policy documentation. They gave us policies which we just copied and indigenized. Denmark Association of Social Workers through IPSPI came up with the social worker mobilization and education project, which went countrywide at that time. Majority of the young social workers were working like activists, trade union kind of style, and it really revived and conscientized the community and the public in terms of presence of social workers. In 1995, Danish Association offered to support our first ever office of the association. So all this support was the turning point for the social work mobilization and organization in Zimbabwe. Major social work grievances then, where social work was not recognized as a profession and regulated through the Act of Parliament. It was not. Like law, like medicine, social workers were languishing within the Department of Social Welfare, and they, with their counterpart graduates in medicine and other areas, they could see that the gains were much more on the other professions. Public social service workers complained of lacking recognition and support. Social workers complained of poor work conditions, mainly in public service, workspace and poor salary grades comparable to other professionals in public service. In response, the NASA office assisted to create a movement or for social work association for both social workers and their clients. That movement was supported through the training on social worker education project. The social workers law and the process that came about. So we go through the process in which culminated in the coming up of the Social Workers Act. The Social Workers Act was created out of the following processes. The Social Workers Task Force of 1987, which was brainstorming, National Association of Social Workers elect first executive by 1990, and the legislation committee set up in 1993, inviting IPSPI in 1994, and NASWA National Office eventually coming in 1995. Social worker mobilization and child rights training in 1995 up to 1999, and by 2001, by 1996, a draft of the Social Workers Bill was already circulating. I remember I was part of a team that went to the Attorney General at that time, who is now the current Minister of Justice, who said, what is your definition of social worker? It was very difficult to define a social worker. Then we started by defining what social workers do. And then he said, look, what is the difference between my mother, who is in Rusape there, and who is looking after village orphans? That statement kept holding us up to date, because right now we have mothers and sisters who are looking for after children at communities, whom we have now termed child community workers. I will talk about that as we move on. But our social work law came about in 2000.